they refuse to get him the elite receiver he needs because they want to draft his replacement. This ain't Aaron Rodgers, 36 years old. This is a 27-year-old supposedly ascending in his prime quarterback. And they let that guy go to the division rivals who came in second last year? If I am Carson Wentz and I believe in myself, I'm going to demand a trade right now. You draft my replacement, you said this whole draft is about getting me help if you're Carson Wentz, and you won't get me help because you want that second round pick so bad to go to the guy who's going to replace me? No. No. I said he's top 15, maybe top 12. I don't think the Eagles believe that. If the Eagles believe that, they don't do this.
I completely disagree with your point of view with this, Max Kellerman. I think the only thing that this draft pick of Jalen Hurts says about Carson Wentz is that we question whether or not Carson Wentz is going to get hurt again. That's it. If Carson Wentz is healthy, nobody is worried about Jalen Hurts taking his spot. Jalen Hurts is a stud athlete. He's a winner. I'm happy he's in the National Football League. But he still has an awful lot of work to do with his passing ability. He's not the most accurate passer in the world. He holds on to the ball entirely too long, which accounts for 8 of the interceptions he threw, although it was in over 340 attempts. The bottom line is that when you look at Jalen Hurts right now, you look at an athlete that's capable of doing a multitude of things on the football field. The way that you see the Saints, for example, utilizing Taysom Hill or how they plan to in the future, one could make an argument that the Eagles might try to utilize Jalen Hurts in a similar fashion. He could be a wideout for you. He could do some tight end. I don't see that, but these are the kind of things that they're saying about him because of his athletic ability. The only person on the planet Earth I have heard say that Jalen Hurts was being drafted as Carson Wentz's replacement, meaning beating out Carson Wentz ultimately, throwing the ball better than Carson Wentz eventually, or something along those lines, is Max Kellerman. That means ain't nobody trying to hear it because you're the only one. You standing alone on a huge island with that one. Nobody's concerned about Carson Wentz losing his job to Jalen Hurts. They're concerned about Carson Wentz getting hurt and having a quarterback to go in to replace him if necessary. They like to carry 3 quarterbacks, not just 2. That's what this is about. Nothing more.
Yeah. Max, I came on this morning knowing what the topic that we were going to talk about would be, and I knew what your stance would be. I did not think that it was going to be this ridiculous. First of all, let's not go back to what was said last year, because one of us said one thing, me, and one of us said another thing, you, and one of us was proven right, and that was me. So let's not bring up last year because your name ended up on a piece of paper in a garbage bag. Second of all, you mean to tell me that the Philadelphia Eagles last summer decided to give Carson Wentz over $100 million of guaranteed money? They had that much faith in them. And then they go into the season and they lose basically everyone. And he has 6 wins when a receiver doesn't get over 75 yards. And he has no receiver over 500 yards. And he wins the division after getting that contract extension and all those circumstances. And their head coach and general manager rave about his performance and rave about his maturity. And all of a sudden you think that they're sitting there going, we need to move on from him? We need to move on to from the guy that just somehow, like the Undertaker, brought our team back from the dead and led us to the playoffs? A guy that in the last 2 years, and Max, that you have said has struggled in the last 2 years, has 50 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. I will tell you this. If there is any other quarterback in the NFL in the last 2 seasons that has 50 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, like 68 completion percentage, and that organization wants to move on from that player, fire everybody, because they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Stephen A's right.
Well, that's a separate
This
issue.
is an insurance policy. The last 3 seasons, Carson has not finished. And no matter how great I think he is, it's 100% justifiable to bring in a good, healthy, developing insurance policy. This is a policy, Max, and that's it.
That's absurd. By the way, if I'm on an island, I suggest some people join. This should be like Manhattan Island. Like, are people?
No, you ain't got no one to join you.
Your argument is actually.
Have you heard anyone say what you said?
Or the argument is actually that, no, it's just because he might get hurt. So instead of signing one of a million veteran quarterbacks you could take as a backup, you don't have to spend a second-round pick level draft capital on. Instead of doing that, you take on what you guys label a project in terms of a pass thrower, right? A project. So if Carson Wentz gets hurt, then he won't be able to take over the reins, right? A veteran would be more ready to do that. But not only,
you know what good organizations do?
They didn't get the receiver they wanted because they were so intent in drafting a guy who's not ready to quarterback a team, according to you guys.
Max Kellerman, were you in the Eagles draft room? Do you know what receiver they wanted? Because if you knew the Eagles offense, CeeDee Lamb, while great and is a better receiver than Rager, isn't what they needed. They needed vertical speed. They were one of the slowest teams in the NFL last year. So because they wanted speed. They wanted Henry Ruggs. That's who they wanted, was the vertical speed. They didn't want CeeDee Lamb because he doesn't necessarily do the exact thing that they needed. Second of all, you know what good organizations do? They go, you know what? We want to upgrade our backup quarterback spot, which the Eagles did. But can we be creative and make sure that although we only get 53 guys on our roster, maybe there's a backup quarterback out there that we can develop that we can also use on game days to give us 54 guys on a roster that we can use in a +1 run game with quarterback reads or red zone, or maybe we'll put both our quarterbacks in Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts on the field at the same time. So on game day, it's not like we dress 48 guys. It's like we dress 49 guys. That's what good organizations do. So listen, you can sit here and think that this is... They also told Carson Wentz they were going to do this before the draft, Max. They told him. They told him, hey, if he's there, we want to do something like this, just so you know. Do you think that they were going to tell him, hey, just so you know, dude, we're going to draft a guy that we think is going to take over your job, even though you just led us to the playoffs last year?
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.